I want to talk in just a moment, though, about the continued push, and look, this has been going on for some time, to try and get trucks off the road in certain parts of Melbourne where the air pollution created is now a quantifiable health problem. And you know where we're talking about here. We're talking here about the inner north and the inner northwest, where there are so many trucks on the road. Well, now the argument is becoming much more powerful with apparently medical data that shows kids are getting sicker in a certain part of Melbourne. Where might that be?
You're listening to Virginia Trioli on ABC Radio Melbourne.
And it's a problem in the west. The city of Maribyrnong includes, as you know, many major truck routes. This is according to Marion Terrill, who's from the Grattan Institute, the Transport and Cities Program Director. And she's arguing in an opinion piece that's been published in The Age today that area has an adolescent asthma rate 50% higher than the state average, and that the hospital admission rate is more than 70% higher than the Australian average for people aged 3 to 19, and that the inner west has a higher incidence of lung cancer than the general Australian population. I assume she's shooting all this back to truck usage on the roads, but can we actually quantify that? Marion Terrill is with you from the Grattan. Hi, Marion.
Hi, Virginia.
Just wanted to interrogate your figures there. So where does that data come from? And can we conclusively conclude that that's all due to higher road traffic?
So there's several studies that we're citing here, medical studies. And I guess we can't say everything in that is due to truck pollution, but it is surprising just how bad truck pollution from exhaust pipes of trucks is. And we do know that it kills hundreds of Australians every year. And I guess the other thing that we know is that every time a study is done of the harmful impacts of the fine particulate matter and nitrogen oxides, we find that it's actually worse than we thought before. So this is a problem that really should be taken seriously.
And do you believe that legislators here in Victoria are taking it seriously?
Well, I think there's some. I think over time, the community is very up in arms because there are exemptions to the curfews, and which have been going on for a long time. And what that means is that there's really big trucks like B doubles and A doubles going down suburban streets at all hours of the day and night, and people are worried about it from the point of view of noise and safety. But I suppose the point that I'm highlighting here is that the exhaust pipe pollution from these trucks is so toxic to human health, particularly to the more vulnerable members of the community, like children, including children who are yet to be born, elderly people and people with chronic illnesses.
And again, I mean, you'll have people listening for the Maribyrnong area this morning, Marion Terrill, who'll be really alarmed by what you're saying and who will immediately worry that, you know, the air that they're breathing in that part of Melbourne isn't safe. What do you say to that this morning?
I think the community is very alarmed. There's been a lot of community activity around this. I think it is. The reason I've written this op-ed is because I am concerned about the disproportionate problem in this part of Melbourne, and also because there are remedies available that they're not going to make it perfect, but which could make a really big difference. What's important to know here is that most of the damage is done by older trucks. They're by far the worst culprits. A truck sold before 1996 emits about 60 times more fine particulate matter, which is a dangerous component of pollution, than a truck sold after 2011. So it's really, the problem is very much concentrated around the old trucks. And that then becomes a bit more of a tractable situation where if you can deal with the really old trucks, then the situation is greatly alleviated.
And it's not easy just to say, look, let's just get the oldest and dirtiest trucks off the road or indeed make sure they take a particular route. That's just unenforceable, isn't it?
Well, I don't agree with that. I think overseas we've seen, it feels like that in Australia, but cities overseas have introduced low emission zones to reduce damage that's inflicted by the oldest trucks and to encourage truck owners to upgrade. And I don't see any reason why that couldn't be done here. They're very common. There's more than 250 of these in Europe. You see them in California and in Vancouver and in Beijing and Tokyo and so on. They're very widespread. Because it's becoming increasingly well understood the impact of exhaust pipe pollution on people's health.
Yeah. Oh, look, I know it's going to be a worrisome set of figures for people living in Maribyrnong this morning. Marion Terrill is with you, Transport and Cities Program Director at Grattan Institute. We do have requirements, though, around older vehicles, don't we, in particular diesel vehicles?
Well, not really. I think as newer vehicles come up, with the passage of time, as vehicle technology has improved, the standards for vehicles that are sold today, new vehicles, are a lot higher than those that were sold. Like before 1996, there were essentially no standards at all. And so they have increasingly tightened, and that's been important. But I suppose what we think is because it's so disproportionate, the older trucks, those are the ones to focus on. And we'd like to see a situation where the oldest trucks, so those that are manufactured before 2013, are not allowed in the densely populated parts of Melbourne. Which isn't to say that they couldn't operate in the country or so on, but really people and really old trucks shouldn't be mixing.
Yep, that sounds reasonable. Marion, good to talk to you. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Virginia.
Marion Terrill, Transport and Cities Program Director at the Grattan Institute.